Have you ever really thought about what we'll actually be doing in heaven? I mean, beyond the popular ideas of clouds and harps, what is the main defining work of a saint for all of eternity? Well, the great theologian Jonathan Edwards thought about this a lot, and he laid it all out in one of his sermons. That's what we're going to break down today.
So, we're going to walk through Edwards' arguments step by step. First, we'll get straight to his main point. What is heaven's number one job? Then we're going to ask why. What drives all this praise? We'll look at what the saints are seeing and what's changed inside them. After that, we'll dive into what this heavenly praise actually sounds like, how it can both nonstop and restful at the same time, and finally, what it all means for you and me, right here on earth. So this is the big question. What's the job description? Once you're in glory, what is the actual moment-by-moment eternal occupation of the saints?
And Edwards, well, he doesn't beat around the bush. He gets right to the point.
For Edwards, the answer is praise. Simple as that. Now, saints might be doing other things, for sure, but their central, defining employment is the worship and praise of God. It's not just something they do, it's the very fabric of their new existence. Okay, but why? What is it that fuels this constant, unending praise? Edwards says it all starts with what the saints are finally, truly able to see. And here it is. The number one reason for all this praise is that the saints finally get to see God. This isn't just a feeling or some kind of metaphor. Edwards is talking about a direct, unfiltered, face-to-face vision of God's actual glory, what theologians called the Beatific Vision. And just listen to how Edwards puts it here. He says that seeing God's glory, it's not a passive experience. It's an active force. It rouses the soul and irresistibly impels it to praise. You get that? In heaven, praise isn't just a nice thing to do. It's the natural, unavoidable, explosive reaction to seeing infinite beauty. So what exactly are they seeing? Well, they're seeing God's attributes with the clarity we just can't imagine down here. His glorious power, his perfect wisdom, his stunning holiness, and his infinite, boundless love. Seeing any one of these in its fullness would be enough to inspire an eternity of praise.
So beyond seeing who God is, the second huge driver of praise is a brand new, complete understanding of what God has done. In heaven, the saints finally get the full picture of his mercy in redemption. This verse from Revelation becomes their living reality. They see with perfect clarity what Christ's sacrifice meant for them, the pardon of their sins, their own personal rescue from hell. This first-hand, perfected view of their own redemption story becomes a constant, joyful theme in their praise. So what the saints see changes everything. But that external sight also causes a huge internal change. It's not just about what's going on around them, but who they have finally become on the inside. Now, this is a really cool theological point. Edwards explains that some of the key Christian virtues for life on earth, well, they're not needed anymore in heaven. I mean, why would you need faith when you have sight? Why would you need hope when you have everything you ever hoped for? Those graces have done their job. But love doesn't go away. It gets perfected. It becomes the very air they breathe in heaven. And this perfected love goes hand in hand with perfected humility. Their hearts become, as Edwards says, a pure flame of love for God, which makes praise their greatest joy. And at the exact same time, seeing God in his full glory gives them the deepest sense of their own smallness, which makes them want to give all the glory to him and none to themselves. So we know why they praise, but what does it all actually sound like? John in the book of Revelation gives us 3 incredible images to help us picture it. First, he says it's like the voice of many waters. So think of the sound of a massive waterfall or the roar of the ocean. It's this huge, unified sound of a countless crowd, all praising God as one. Second, it's like a great thunder. This is not quiet, reserved worship. It gives you the sense of the sheer power and passionate energy of their praise. It's a sound that shakes the heavens. But then, right after the roar of the ocean and the crash of thunder, John hears harps. And this is just a beautiful paradox. In the middle of all that overwhelming volume and power, there is perfect, sweet melody. It's a sound that is somehow both infinitely mighty and infinitely beautiful at the very same time. Now, all this continuous, passionate praise might sound, well, a little tiring, but Edwards has an answer for that with this idea of active rest. You see, according to Edwards, heavenly rest isn't about stopping activity,
It's about stopping toil. It's freedom from everything that makes work hard on earth, the sweat, the frustration, the exhaustion. The saints in heaven are more active and alive than ever, but their work is pure joy, and they do it without any struggle. This vision of heaven is just incredible, right? But Edwards doesn't leave it up in the clouds. He brings it right down to earth and asks a really big question. If this is where we're headed, what should we be doing about it now? His main point is this. The church on earth and the church in heaven are not two different things. We're one single family in two different places. One part of the family is the church militant, still fighting the good fight on earth, while the other part is the church triumphant, victorious in heaven. And if we're all one family, we should be in the same family business. And since we're part of this praising family, Edwards says we need to start the work of heaven right now. He gives us a roadmap. First, you have to be converted to even learn this new song of praise. Second, you have to work at getting a spiritual sight of God, because that sight is what fuels the praise. Third, you have to intentionally grow in those heavenly virtues of love and humility. And finally, you've got to actually do it. Praise God with passion and do it together with other believers as a little taste of that heavenly chorus. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If praise in heaven is the automatic response to sight, what fuels our praise here on earth, where we still see, as Paul says, through a glass dimly? How do we, by faith, begin the work of heaven today?